Hello there, and welcome to episode 89 of Little Big Knits. My name is Selma. I'm coming to you from a very gray Ottawa. So I actually have a studio light on today because I thought it is just too dark this morning. We had beautiful snow and now we have rain. Hopefully not freezing rain. We'll see what it's like out there today, but not a very pleasant weather. We had a snowfall and then for days there was no wind, so the snow just sat on the trees. It was absolutely beautiful. And yesterday morning I went out for a walk knowing that today it was going to turn, and went for a nice forest walk with a friend, so it was lovely. But you just never know what you're going to get in December, or these days, to be honest. So anyway, that's the weather forecast from here in Ottawa. I hope that this podcast finds you well. Hello to any new viewers, and to those of you that just keep coming back, hello. Thank you for being here with me. Today, I just wanted to do a quick check-in because I happen to have 2 finished objects. Normally, I would have waited another week, but I just thought, I really feel like doing that. And next week is the weekend before Christmas, and I think there'll be a little bit more prep. I think I told you last time that this time Christmas is going to be a little bit more relaxed around here, a little bit more low-key. I'm not really doing a whole lot of baking. I think we've decided that we're just going to make gingerbread cookies, and I'm going to make a dessert for Christmas because we don't usually make dessert because we've got so many chocolates and cookies that we just make a plate of little goodies. So I thought this time I'm going to do things a little differently, and we're going to make a dessert at Christmas. But I'm a little bit behind on all the preparations. Usually by this point I know exactly what I'm doing, and so it's a little bit more low-key around here this time, which is fine. And so I just thought, you know what, next week and I definitely will be busy with those things, so let's just jump in, say hello, hope that you're doing well. If you are into the Christmas season, celebrating the Christmas season, I hope you're having a lovely Advent. Yeah, I am doing a tea Advent with Vahdam, Vahdam, which is an Indian company that I discovered 2 years ago. I think I did their Advent and really liked it a lot, and actually drink many of their teas regularly. So I got that Advent, and I'm just enjoying a cup of tea from them every day. I don't actually have their tea in here today because today's tea is an herbal tea, or herbal tea for those of you in the UK. So I'm just having my Ahmed black cardamom tea with a little bit of cream in this Christmas mug that one of my children gave me 3 years ago, I think, at this point, something like that. And I love this mug. So yeah. So last time I shared with you my trip to Spain, and I tried to limit the footage as much as possible because I had so much footage. People know me now, and they know that when they're with me, they just have to stop and take footage because that's just what I do. So I had so much footage from Spain that I decided that I would leave some of it for this time. And so later on in the episode, I'll tell you a little bit about the 3 smaller places that I visited when in Spain outside of Madrid and Barcelona. My skin seems to be itchy today, sorry. So I'll share that with you at the end of the episode. But those of you who stayed to the end last time, thank you for all your lovely comments about the footage. And it was such a magical trip. Like, I'm still actually savoring it. It was so, so wonderful. And in fact, I was talking to some people about it the other day and I got teary-eyed. So it was really a very meaningful trip. So I'll share that with you at the end. And then one thing that I had forgotten to mention last time, there had been some people who were interested in the New Mexico knitting retreat that I had been to at Ghost Ranch in October, and were wondering about next year. Lauren is going to be organizing one for next year, and the information will probably come out in January. So as soon as I'm able, I will tell you about that so that you can look into it, see what's up for next year. She's got something quite lovely and quite fabulous up for next year. And I won't be there, but she'll have something else lovely and fabulous. So, just kidding. Anyway, so I'll share that with you when I'm able to. So there you go. And just before we get into the knitting, we have 2 make-alongs. One of them is ending at the end of this year, which is just a couple of weeks away, 3 weeks away. And that is the Scrappy Stashy Mal. This has been an all year. Did I start at the very beginning of the year? I can't remember exactly when I started, but it has been going strong. I honestly have been struggling to keep up with the 2 make-alongs. I used to always make sure that I saw everybody's projects and liked everybody's projects, and I've just been struggling to keep up with that this fall. It's been a very busy time, but people have been enthusiastic in there and sharing things, and that is ending on the 31st. So yeah, and there will be prizes for that, which I'll be sharing at the beginning of the year. In some format. I'll have to see how I end up doing that. And then we also have the LBK for Little Big Knits Nordic Cal. So that includes knitting and crocheting, whereas the Stashy Scrappy Mal includes any form of fiber arts, really. If you've got fiber that's been sitting around and you spin it and weave it, or just spin it, or whatever you do with any of the woolly or woven fabrics, like if you have a quilt pack that you've had forever and you finally turn into a quilt, that works as well. So it's really about using up materials that we have in our making. So yeah, that is that. And then the LBK Nordic Mal is about using Nordic patterns and or yarns. And both of these have threads that are in the Ravelry group for the Little Big Knits, but there's also a hashtag, which you will have seen down here, that you can use to post projects on Instagram. And the LBK Nordic Mal is going until March. So we've still got a little bit of time with that one. But the Scrappy Stashy Mal, Scrappy Stashy Mal will be finishing at the end of the year. So those have been 2 lovely, lovely make-alongs that we've had this year. It's been great. And I hope that you've enjoyed participating in those. If you have, and if you haven't, it's not too late. Whips are welcome in both of them. All right, let's start talking about finished objects, because I have 2 for you today, and that's why I came in, because I wanted to tell you about my 2 lovely makes. Yes, yes, yes. I have a poncho, and it's a pretty poncho. This is the Coorie In Poncho by Amy Palko of The Meaningful Stitch. She has a lovely podcast that I've been watching since day one. I'll never forget. So Amy designed this poncho for herself, and it was so appreciated by or enjoyed, or what's the word? Everybody was very enthusiastic about it, let's put it that way. And so she decided to write it down, and she sent me a copy, and I was kind of a bit of a preview read and test knit, and I just started it. I think I showed it to you last time, and I was somewhere around here, and I just couldn't put it down. It was such a lovely make. It was simple and easy, and just kind of like one of those things where you just want to keep on going. And it's finished, so I'm going to stand up and show you. So I did it exactly to pattern, didn't make any changes, and I haven't checked my row gauge, but I do think that Amy's ended up a little bit longer than mine. And I could have kept going, but I thought this is fine, because I really just want it to be a simple thing that I wear over a top, or over my nightie in the morning, or, you know, over a blouse even to the office. It's just a nice simple thing. So it was just a lovely thing to make. She has an interesting detail where she has short rows at the back, which you can see very nicely there, which help to raise the back a bit. And then it's done kind of like a raglan, but in the opposite location. So rather than here, it's in the front and the back and on the sides. And so it just creates a lovely flowy thing. It's knit on 5mm needles, and I still have them here. I used the Holst Super Soft, which you can see is a bit more of a bluey, earthy purple, in the Thistledown colorway, and it's a very heathered color. You can see that there's blue and purple, there's even flecks of red in there. Very rich color actually. And I used, and unfortunately I have no idea where the tags are, but I used this mohair that I got in Madrid at My Knitted Closet, and it's their mohair. Their kitchen noises, just so you know, because you know, that's the way it rolls around here. I always podcast on a Saturday or a Sunday morning, and although I'm set up and going a little bit earlier than everybody else is up in the house, you know, eventually people start moving around. So anyway, this is a mohair silk blend from My Knitted Closet that I got there when I was now in Madrid, and I put these two together to create this very beautiful purple. And it's just lovely. Now the mohair is a typical wonderful you know, mohair silk blend lace weight. So you know what that can be like if you've worked with it before. Some people really struggle with the hairiness of mohair. I find this one to be quite soft. Interesting experience working with the Holst Super Soft. I'd never worked with it before. I bought this a while back, but I hadn't actually made anything with it before. And I've heard so many different comments about this yarn. Some people absolutely love it. Some people wash it before they use it so that it's more enjoyable to work with. Some people just don't enjoy it and don't want to work with it. It is, and the reason some people wash it is that it still has the spinning oil in it and it's a little bit ropey. So as I was knitting with this, I was thinking, I don't know about this. This texture's not very nice, but people keep talking about it, and actually messaged Amy and I said, because her first one was made in a combination of mohair with the whole super soft, I was like, how do you actually wash your garment afterwards? And she said that she soaks it. And did she say, or others have said anyway, that they soak it in soap, so some sort of wool wash. Like I use pear wool, or pear wool, which is a German, I believe it's a German wool wash. That's a soapy one, not the lanolin based ones like Eucalan, but an actual soapy one. And so she soaks it and then keeps rinsing until any color stops running. So I actually soaked when this was finished, and I was like, oh, let's see what's going to happen to this, because I really wasn't sure about the texture. I soaked it overnight. I rinsed it multiple times. I put it in the washing machine in the drain and spin cycle, as I do with everything, just to get out any excess water. And then I hung it on my drying rack. And when I took it out of the washing machine, I was like, oh, I can tell this is going to be different right away. Like it changed completely. It is now a lovely, soft and airy and just a beautiful fabric. And this was knit on 5mm needles, and it creates a very nice, airy, but not transparent fabric. I'm trying to see, is it transparent? If I put a blue thing under there, I don't think you can really see it. So it actually works very nicely at a slightly looser gauge, and it just created an absolutely fabulous fabric. So this combination of this lovely, simple, is this a garment or an accessory? I think it sort of is somewhere in between. And this yarn combination is just beautiful. And I really like it. I can see more in my future. I won't be purchasing any now, but I must say that I jumped right on the Holst Super Soft, on the Holst Garn website, and was looking at the colors and thinking, what would I get? I don't have any plans right now, and I have so much beautiful yarn that I got this year that I don't think that I will be buying anything, but I definitely will keep this combination for the future. The My Knitted Closet mohair was lovely, and this is their own brand, as I said, and they have an array of not a huge selection of colors, but I would say about 12 colors, and they're all very lovely. So if you are wanting to check out, I'm sure they have a website, and their shop was really lovely in Madrid if you happen to go. So this is the Coorie In Poncho. Thank you, Amy, for the design, and it was just a lovely, lovely knit. And I almost feel like casting on another one immediately because it was such a pleasant thing to have on my needles. And my mother-in-law, who received her shawl, and I'll put in a picture of her here wearing the shawl, she commented right away, "Ooh, I really like your poncho." So I thought, maybe a future make for her. I think this would be something that she would really enjoy wearing as well. All right, let's talk about our second finished object, and it is also a beautiful one. Oh, look at that color. Doesn't that look beautiful? It's a very purpley day. Today's episode is sponsored by the color purple. This is the Plumage Socks by Annina Juuti. Annina is also known as Anni Juuti Knits on Instagram and has a podcast as well. And she designs socks. And these were, I mentioned to you last time, I was working on them. They're just an absolutely beautiful, beautiful design. It's a toe-up construction with this interesting slip stitch thing happening in the toe and this beautiful, beautiful stitch pattern, a heel and gusset, and it's all, and then there's a twisted rib detail up the back, which then goes into the ribbing. I mentioned to you last time that there were a couple of techniques here that were new, and she offers video, just sort of videos to support the stitches, because it's a little bit unusual, but then once you get it, it's like so delightful to actually make. I just got interrupted to talk about baking, and I have no recollection what I was talking about beyond these socks and telling you a little bit about them. So yeah, so the pattern I really enjoyed, and I definitely, now that I'm talking about them, I'm going to be trying these on and seeing what it's like to wear them. But I really, really liked this detail a lot, and I really enjoyed making these socks. I really enjoyed making the pattern. It's a fabulous design. I can't say more about it. You just have to get over a couple of little things and then it's just smooth sailing. The yarn is also delightful. This is the Camijo sock yarn, and this lovely pale lilac that Camilla had sent me in the spring. Not in the spring, I think it was in the summer actually. She sent me a little care package after I had broken my wrist, and it was just so sweet. And so I wanted to honor and use the yarn as soon as possible. And when Annina came out with this pattern, and I was going to be seeing Annina and Camilla in Barcelona for Barcelona Knits, I thought I need to cast on these socks in Camilla's yarn, which will go beautifully with it. And yeah, so it's a lovely color, lovely yarn. And Camilla also has a podcast called Camijo Knits, and she's got Vlogmas going on right now too, and so does Annina actually. So yeah, really lovely, a great, great finished object, and I'm looking forward to wearing these right away. So those are my finished objects for today. And what have I got on my needles? Well, when I finished those socks, I was going to cast on some Christmas socks, but I ended up grabbing something else instead, because I then thought that I would be probably knitting a new pattern that had come out that were Christmas color socks. So anyway, but before that was going to happen, I ended up grabbing this bag that my friend Mel of Mel Makes Stuff had made. She'd made one for me and one for Mecca when we met last year at Vermont, at the Vermont Sheep and Wool, I think it was called. So I, in this bag, put this skein of yarn. This is the Lanitium Ex Machina. She is a Finnish dyer, and I had got this skein of yarn was it at Tititu? Oh my gosh, everything's going haywire in my head. The yarn shop in Helsinki. Oh my gosh. Yarn shop in Helsinki, where I met Jana and Annina in April. I had got this yarn, and I started knitting with it, and I was just going to make a plain vanilla sock. This is the Butterfly Galaxies colorway, But as soon as I started knitting the cuff, I thought, oh wow, that is some pooling. And I wasn't thrilled with the idea of having these very pooly socks. So I thought, I think I need something to break it up. And these are very dark socks, so you can't really see the lace pattern on here. But I just thought, you know what, I'm gonna create a lace pattern and we're just gonna go with it. And I've actually, yeah, you can barely see it there. Barely see it, you can see it. I'm actually using the stitch pattern that I used for the Sarah vest that I showed you last time. And I'm using that lace pattern on the socks to try and break up the pooling. I don't know if I'm very successful in it, and maybe it would have been much more maybe I should have just gone with a plain vanilla sock and just let it pool, and that would have been part of the galaxy look. And maybe that's what she meant for it to be. And I've been working on these little by little, and I've just finished the heel, a flap, and I'm on the gusset decreases. So even though I'm not sure how effective the stitch pattern has been, I think I'm gonna keep going with it. I mean, the other thing would be to go back and just let it pool like crazy, and that would be part of the galaxy sock, which is also another possibility. I haven't quite decided, it seems. I thought I had, but now that I'm looking at it on screen as I'm showing it to you, I'm thinking maybe the pooling would have been kind of interesting, and maybe I should just allow it to do that. I'm thinking. So this is a work in progress, and we'll see where that ends up. I've had a little bit of funny things happening here, to be honest, because I cast those on as I was waiting to cast on the JulGubbe Socks that Annina Yuti, who designed the Plumage Socks, she was coming out with. She came out with this fabulous colorwork sock pattern, and I got very excited about it. And so as I was waiting for the pattern to come out, I decided to start the dark purple black socks. So I ended up finding myself and getting myself, I had some cream yarn, but I really didn't have any red yarn. I didn't have enough red yarn. I had a little partial skein of one, but nothing sufficient to make a pair of socks. So I actually bought some amble. This is the Fiber Company amble sock, which is a very lovely sock base. I've worked with it before. It's a blend of washable merino. It's a conscious blend because apparently it's treated in a more environmentally friendly way. Alpaca and recycled nylon. And it's a lovely, lovely sock yarn, and actually the sock yarn that Annina had used. So I was able to get it from Needles in the Hay in Peterborough. I believe that's where I got it from. And it arrived, and I wound it up and I started the socks. However, I've never made colorwork socks. That's not true. I think I made colorwork socks like 30 years ago or something like that, and just a little detail at the top. And I've avoided colorwork socks because I really don't enjoy colorwork on small circumference. So when I've done it on sleeves, I swear through the whole process. Like, I just don't enjoy it. I just get it over with. But I thought, I really love this pattern. It's just adorable. And there's just the color work at the top. She's got a flea pattern going through, but I thought I just wouldn't even do that. I would probably do little pearl bumps or just leave it plain. So I started it, but I'm not happy with what's happening here. And so I think I'm going to take a little break. So here is the socks so far. So adorable. These are such a great pattern. You've got a bauble, and then you've got the hat, and I had gotten to the face of the gnomes. And I decided in the end that I was going to do twin stitch. And I'm doing it on magic loop. But what I'm not liking, and it's fine on the flat part, the color work is going well. I tried these, they go over my feet perfectly fine, which is one of the issues with color work knitting. But where I'm joining on the sides here, it looks terrible. And it's the same thing on both sides. I just don't like it. I don't think my floats are particularly fabulous on them. Actually, they're not too bad. But I just don't like what's happening on the side, and you're gonna see that when it's stretched on the foot. And I don't like it. I feel like I wanna start these over. So I'm going to contemplate what I should do here. I've had a couple of suggestions. Well, I've had one suggestion, which is to knit it inside out, where you actually have the floats on the outside. And that's an interesting technique that I would like to try. Although my problem is not so much the tension of the yarn, it's the join at the sides. And so I'm wondering if, and I really don't like working with the little 9-inch needles. It's not pleasant for me. But I think that would be really the best solution. I did find some 10-inch ones and I tried those, but I didn't really enjoy that either. But maybe I could try it with the color work and see what happens. The other option is to try double pointed needles and see how that would work. So I'm curious, those of you who have made colorwork socks or are proficient at making colorwork socks, what's your preferred method of knitting up colorwork socks to make them work? I'm curious, and I suspect that there are others that are curious as well. So I'm going to put these on hold for now, but I really am they're just so cute that I really want them. It may not end up being for this Christmas, but if that's the case, then I would keep them for next Christmas, and or maybe just work on them throughout the year. So I'm curious to hear if you have any suggestions out there. So my concerns are less about the tension as just how to get it equal around. Because when you are switching from one needle to the next, you have to be careful with the tension here of the yarn that you're carrying. And I think I just end up doing it very loosely. So yeah, I'm curious to hear those of you who have more experience knitting colorwork socks. If you have a particular technique you think would work well, let me know. I'm curious. So this is on hold for now, unfortunately. I'm having a little bit of a weird mojo moment, which you're going to see with my next project as well. This one is being held in a bag that my friend Kate of the HawthornCottageCraft podcast, who is also doing Vlogmas, gave me a few years ago. And it's kind of a nice kind of Christmassy sort of bag in a way. So this project is in here. I have 2 more works in progress, I should say. And I'm going to show you the other one that's kind of in a weird situation as well. So this is in this bag that I had stitched. For now, I think it's going to outgrow this bag. But that is my Granite Cardigan. I had gotten to the bottom of the cardigan where I was going to, or the bottom of the stockinette stitch section where I was going to start the ribbing. I had tried it on earlier and had thought, oh, maybe I'll add some A-line shaping along the side and then it'll be okay. Oh, it's going to be fine. Mistake number 1 is be real about what's happening with your knitting, because when I tried it on, I put it on the barber cables when I got to the bottom, and I went and stood in front of the mirror. I kept having to tug it, and I realized it fits very nicely up here, but I think I just needed a little bit more, especially in the front, to accommodate the bust. I think I needed a few more stitches, and I should have been a little bit more realistic about that when I was up here. So I have ripped it back, And what I did, whoops, it's all tangled up here. I've ripped it back. So for you, it looks like I've gotten nowhere because I'm pretty much back where I was last time, maybe even a little bit further back. But I actually came back to the raglan increases and I added 2 or 3 more increases. So I added about an inch. And I also added a couple of extra increases to the V-neck. So basically I've added 5 extra stitches to the front, 5 or 6, I think it might have been 6 actually, to both fronts. So that's going to add an additional extra inch about from each side. And I also did increases on the back, this just on the raglan, the 2 or 3 additional that I added. And it's not looking very neat because of course I'm using the yarn that I had already used. So that'll all work out once I've blocked it, but it's not as smooth because I'm not using a new skein of yarn. So yeah, so I'm a little bit disappointed with myself in the sense that I just wasn't being real. Now that I've knit about an inch, I'm going to try it on again, and I'm expecting that it's going to be fine. I wanted to wait, and I knit about an inch yesterday, and so this is going to take a little bit longer. This was the Granite Cardigan by Katrine Linnehagen, I believe is her name. And it's just a lovely V-neck and cardigan, and the picture you can see that it's relaxed. So I thought I don't want this to be like this little tight number. I want it to be a little bit relaxed. So I think it's going to be in a much better state now. I'm going to try it on later today before I knit on it again. And this is being knit out of beautiful yarn, beautiful yarn. This is a 100% BFL yarn. It's the Erica Knight British Blue 100. It's a worsted weight yarn. And this was a beautiful yarn gifted to me by Your Next Knit. Smita is the owner in Vancouver. And Smita has given viewers of the podcast a discount code. And what was it? Was it Selma 15? I believe it was. Yes, Selma 15. So you can go to her shop and use that code for any yarn in her shop. So if you are looking for yarn, check her out. It's Your Next Knit. She's based in Vancouver. And she had sent me this beautiful British Blue 100. This is the 0603 colorway. It's called Kanoko. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful blue. After my purchases in Spain, and looking at what I'm knitting, I realized there's definitely a theme of colors for me this year. There seems to be purple, blue, pink. I would say that those are the colors that I've been most drawn to this year. So yeah, and this is kind of in the blue-gray category of things. So yeah, so that one also had a little bit of a rip back. The last work in progress that I have, never mind. The last work in progress is in this bag that my mother had made, and these are her initials, MLL, Maya Lisa Lilia. She made, I don't know, in school many, many decades ago. And I use it for projects here and there. And I was just organizing my project bags, and this happened to end up being on top, and I just grabbed it for this next project. And the next project is a gnome. I think I told you last time that I was kind of in the mood for a gnome. And one viewer said, "Ooh, I didn't think that was coming. I didn't expect that one." And Sarah Skira, who is also known as Imagined Landscape, she is the queen of the gnomes. She puts out fabulous gnome patterns and does make-alongs every year, and yeah, just great. And I decided not to go with the make-along this year, and I was looking at her gnomes, and I actually had a gnome pattern, but the gnome pattern that I had wasn't really calling me. This guy was calling me. So this is the Not Just Another Gnome. And in the color, you'll see if you go on Ravelry, her patterns they're very sort of monochromatic in the sense that it's a green body and another shade of green for the hat. So I am doing mine. I just went through my minis to see, and my leftovers to see what do I have, what's calling me. And I decided to do him in this teal. So this is the hat. You start with the hat. It's very interesting. This is going to be a project where I need to kind of like just trust what she says and just do what she says. So you start with the hat, and there is a yarn here put in where that I think you're going to use to then add on the body, I think. So I haven't gotten very far. I knit a few rows here and there, and I'm just on the hat. I don't need this to be finished for Christmas. I'm not 100% sure what yarn I'm using, I have to tell you. It's in my mini collection, and I just grabbed it, but I don't know what it is. But it's this teal that I'm using for the hat, and then this is a shocker. I'm going to use this for the body. And this, I'm pretty sure, is from the Creative Knitter, but I don't know what this is. This had been part of a sort of a rainbow color set that I'd gotten at one point. And this is a rather shocking blue that I don't see myself wearing, and I thought, you know what, this is actually kind of a fun combination, and you know, if he's standing in a corner, he'll pop out. So yeah. And then I'll probably use the same cream that I'm using for the socks, for the little details, for the beard, yeah, and then we'll have ourselves a gnome in the Little Big Knits house. This could be the beginning of a gnome tradition. We'll see, because I thought it would be really nice to have a variety of gnomes and have like a collection of gnomes standing together as a Christmas decoration. So we'll see if this becomes a tradition, but right now I'm really enjoying making this. And as I said, I'm doing it little by little here and there. But he will be finished during the Christmas season, that's for sure. And maybe him and Ramazan will join forces. Let's see what happens. And actually, he's got a teal hat as well. He's also a pincushion for me, it turns out. This is Ramazan, and he is a needle felted little guy that my friend Holly made me a few years ago, and she made one for a few of us, and so he tends to hang around in podcast corner or thereabouts, and so this guy might just join him. We'll see. So those are my works in progress. What's next for me? I think that once I have finished the body of the Granite Cardigan, I'm going to give that as my goal. Then I'm going to allow myself to cast something on. And I have two contenders. The first is this stunning blue yarn that I had gotten at Barcelona Knits by Felici Punto. And this is the alpaca silk and cashmere base, so it's very rich, and it's called Dark Midnight. And I'm going to be making the diamond hat by Cami Jo, actually, Cami Jo Knits. I'll put the pattern here so that you can see it. In fact, if you'll recall, I made her shawl, this beautiful shawl. Oops. Absolutely stunning shawl that has one side that is garter and the other side that is this beautiful diamond lace. And the hat is the same concept. And actually, Camilla had hers at Barcelona Knit. She was knitting hers, wearing hers all the time, and hers is definitely less, like mine is more of a big winter shawl. Hers was a lot lighter. And I think it was probably the base, because I used this probably a little bit thicker singles base. Yeah, so hers has ended up a lot smaller, and I'm almost thinking that I'd like to make a second one and make it a little bit of a smaller shawl as well. This one, is a huge presence, and as I said, I kind of sometimes like something a little bit smaller. I use it, of course, and it was a joy to make, and I love the concept. And so when I saw that she came up with a hat with that concept, I thought, I definitely want that. So this is for that. And originally I was going to use it with probably this yarn, but I don't think I have I'm gonna have to check, but I think that this was the last, ball of this. And this is gonna go with my navy blue coat, but I have actually since gotten a new coat because my navy blue coat, which is a downfill coat, has gotten 2 rips in it. And I thought, okay, this is a problem. And it's also been around for a long time. So I ended up getting a gray coat actually. So I'm probably going to choose a gray mohair to go on the outside, and then I can still wear my blue coat, but then that'll really go with my new coat. So I'd like to start that because I'm really intrigued by the construction of it as well, where you sort of knit one part and then you add the rest and then you flip it in. I'm curious about that. And then, oh, I didn't bring the other yarn, but then there's this bright pink goodness that just makes me happy. And this skein went a little bit funny. And it's to start the ranunculus vest. So one of those will get started next. We'll see which one, but they'll both get cast on in the next little while. I'm committed to both of them. And this is the 7 Octubre, I believe it was called. I don't know how you say 7 in Polish, but it's this yarn that I had also got at Barcelona Knits. And this is a silk mohair lace, 30% silk and 70% mohair. And this is the sweet rose pink colorway. And I have some Casasol upstairs, a thin cotton that I'm going to put with it, that I had gotten at, where in the world? In Madrid. I got it in Madrid. Suddenly the name of the store is eluding me. My goodness, my brain. I haven't actually had breakfast yet. That could be it. Let's blame it on that. So I'm gonna put those two together to make myself a little ranunculus vest. I'm probably gonna double strand the mohair because the cotton is a cobweb. And when I was swatching, I felt more comfortable with 2 strands of mohair than just the one in terms of the fabric that it made. So I will probably use both of these, and I'm going to be making a little ranunculus vest. So let's hope that works out. And that's my plans. I have a couple of things that I want to show you in terms of gifts that I received for the podcast. They're going to become prizes for the knit-alongs. So I received a lovely gift from Leah, and she also sent me another little something that I'm going to wait and open at Christmas, but she sent me these 3 beautiful skeins of Tukul wool fingering. And this is going to be a prize for the LBK Nordic cow. So thank you very much for that. Really appreciate that. And then my friend Roxana, who is an Ottawa person, she doesn't have an online shop yet. I hope she'll change her mind. But she makes project bags and sells them locally. And she brought over a selection, when I had a little knit night here the other night, a selection of bags. And so I've chosen a couple of her bags as prizes for either the LBK Nordic Cal or the Scrappy Stashy Mal. I'll have to see what works for which one of them. And they're just really lovely. So this one is a quilted style, larger project bag. And then there's this fabulous bag that's more of a sock bag. And it's really neat because it's quite deep. So you can fold it over easily and have it like a basket. So yeah, those are 2 things that have come into my life as well. I had told you last time that I was thinking of going to Toronto, and I ended up changing my mind. It just wasn't the right timing with Christmas, with my husband being away. So I decided not to go. And I was also a little concerned about the weather. It didn't really pan out, but it was supposed to be a kind of a snowy, rainy weekend. And so I thought it's not a great time to drive 5 hours to Toronto, and not the best time of the year as well. So Knit Toronto is going to be hosting more knit nights and trunk shows and so forth in the new year. So hopefully I'll be able to go to one of the other ones. And I'll let you know so that if you're in the Toronto area, you could drop by and say hi, because that would be really nice. Teenagers are making noise up there. So I just wanted to mention 3 patterns that came into my life, actually. I recently purchased this lovely pattern by Hannah of Herb Garden Knitwear. This is the Boughs of Holly sweater, and I have been admiring it for a while, I have to say. And Hannah had a little bit, she's having a sale in her shop during the Advent season, and this was on sale, so I decided to get it because I've been looking at it for a while. It is an 18 stitch gauge, so it's meant to be knit with a worsted weight, and I might modify it for a DK. I don't know, but I thought this would be a lovely, lovely sweater to have for the Christmas season. It's not overly Christmassy, and you could do it in non-Christmassy colors, but wear it with, like she had it with a red skirt, and I thought, that's a lovely sweater, and I've admired it for a long time, so I decided to purchase that and support Hannah, who I met very briefly. But hello, Hannah, if you happen to be watching, I met her at Barcelona Knits. So, and she has lovely designs. She has another top that I really like that has a very simple lace design here at the top. Just very simple. It would be perfect for like a summer tea kind of thing. So yeah, she has lovely designs. I also received this pattern from my friend Sue a while back, and somehow I had missed it last time when I was showing you guys patterns. And this is the Puffle Socks, which is this sort of striped sock with garter ridges on it. It's a lovely, simple design by my Yarny Corner. And so I just wanted to bring that up to the top of and show it to you guys because it had sort of gotten buried in my library somehow amongst other things that I'd received, and I forgot to show it to you guys. So there you go. It's lovely, and thank you for that. Delayed thank you, Sue. The last pattern that I want to show you today is the Pelto collar by Jenny Ansa. Pelto means field in Finnish, and it's got this lovely stitch pattern up the front that sort of resembles stalks of wheat kind of thing. And when it came out, I fell in love with it right away, but I didn't quite know what to make it with. So you may recall last year I made this dicky, shall we call it a dicky? That is a drops pattern, but I ended up following Leanne of the Knitty Stew. I ended up following her instructions on her Ravelry page because the pattern is very poorly written, like really poorly written. And I wear this all the time. It actually is the same color as my new gray coat, but it is just perfect to have it like that or have it down like this. And I also like the fact that it keeps the back warm as well. So if you're wearing something that's not covering the back of your neck that much or so forth, something like that, it also brings a little bit of warmth back there. It's just a really practical thing. And, you know, if it's a little bit cooler, I just do this to give a little bit extra warmth to my chin and the upper neck. So it's really great. And I thought, I think I want another one in my life. So I'm kind of thinking about making this Pelto collar at some point this winter as an accessory because it's just really a really practical thing to have in the climate that we live in. Obviously, it gets quite cold here in the winter, and so I thought having the Pelto collar goes. I didn't make this as long because I wanted to use as much as I could of the skein of yarn that I had. The other one, I would definitely make it longer in the front and the back. It's knit at kind of a 19 stitch gauge. It's sort of like this. It's meant to be a lace or fingering weight held with a mohair type of thing. And so it would be a lovely thing to have. So I'm hoping to knit that at some point this winter, or it's definitely an accessory that I would like to have because I really enjoy my first collar that I use. I've used it a lot. Surprisingly, I didn't expect to. I thought I'll make it as an experiment, but I've actually used it a lot. So those are all the knitty things that I have for you today. I thought I'd just spend a couple of minutes talking about the 3 places that I visited in Spain that were not the large cities. And they were all little day trips and were really, really lovely experiences. So when I was in Madrid, visiting my son. He wanted to see some places outside of Madrid. I had really wanted to go to Segovia, which is one of my favorite places in Spain. It's got an amazing castle that is just like a Snow White Cinderella kind of castle. And it's just a beautiful place. It's got a first century aqueduct. It's just a beautiful town, and I wanted to go back there. And the other place that I really love in Spain is Cuenca. Cuenca is a lovely small town. It's famous for these casas colgadas, which are these houses that are built on a cliff. And it has a very nice modern art museum actually in one of those houses. And I really wanted to go there, but neither one of those worked out. First of all, my son had already been to Segovia, so I wanted to take him somewhere new. And Cuenca's just a little bit further away, and so we couldn't seem to get ourselves organized enough to get there, leave early in the morning, and so forth. So the first day trip that we did was to Escorial, which is about an hour outside of Madrid. You can just take a commuter train, and it's a lovely, lovely small town on the top of a hill. So you have to walk up from the train station. There's a beautiful park that you can walk through. If you're there during the day, the park closes. And the town is kind of at the top of the hill, and there is a monastery there, a monastery and dwelling of Philip II, a previous king, and he wanted to build this monastery and have a place for him to retire to and be buried. So actually there are many Spanish royal kings that are, and other royal figures who are buried there as well. And there is, and it's a beautiful place. So we went there as our first little day trip, and we had a lovely lunch and walked around the monastery and did a guided tour of the monastery, which was very interesting. And yeah, that was lovely, lovely, lovely place. And you can actually see Madrid from Escorial. So it's in the distance, you can see the tower. So that's kind of neat. Our next road trip was with all of us, was with my son and our friend Anna and my friend Paul, who was with me. And we went to Toledo. Toledo is a really interesting place because it is a medieval town that is built within walls. So you can see the walls as well. And it is a medieval town where Muslims, Jews, and Christians coexisted for a period of time. I would imagine until basically everybody was expulsed from Spain. And so the architecture in Toledo is very Moorish inspired and just beautiful. We went into one of the synagogues. There are 2 synagogues in Toledo. And it's a very Moorish inspired synagogue as well. Just stunning. And we also saw the mosque, but it was getting late at that point, so we couldn't go inside the mosque. So we only saw it from the outside. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful town. So we got there and we had lunch, and we actually went to the tourist office and said, you know, we've basically got the afternoon. And she gave us sort of a path to take so that we would see most things. There's also a famous painting by El Greco there, the burial of Count Orgaz. So I don't know if I got any footage of that, but if I did, I'll show it to you. And it's inside a church, and we got there literally like 5 minutes before it was closing. So we didn't have a long time there, and yet we paid to get in. But anyway, that's another story. And yeah, we just walked around, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful city. I had been to Toledo years ago, but I don't remember when I lived there in the 90s, but I don't remember liking it that much. And so I was glad to go again and really be able to appreciate it a little bit more. Toledo is also famous for its marzipan. It's made by the nuns there. I can't remember. I think they called it San Tome. And so we got some marzipan there, which was delicious, really beautiful. And yeah, it was a lovely, lovely day trip. So those are the 2 day trips that I did from Madrid. And then when I got to Barcelona, I mentioned to you last time that on the Friday before Barcelona Knits, I went to the Picasso Museum, but then I ended up thinking, I've got a free afternoon. So Lisa and I had been chatting. I said, what if I come to Sitges? So I grabbed a train, which was also a commuter train, and it went along the sea. It was a beautiful train ride, actually, and arrived in Sitges. It's about a 40-minute train ride outside of Barcelona, and it is a beautiful place. And apparently it is the 3rd most expensive real estate market in Spain. There are a lot of expats that live there and coexist with the people. It's a beautiful, beautiful town. And also, of course, there's some really old architecture there, a lot of white houses, and it's on the ocean. So Lisa gave me a walking tour of the city, and then we went and had some vermouth, which I think she realized quite quickly as I posted in my stories that I love vermouth. And Spain has a lot of it, and often, the bar itself makes their own vermouth. So vermouth can be, it's not just the Cinzano or whatever, it's really local vermouth. And so we going to a couple of places, and then I needed to get back because I wanted to be back to be there when Annina had arrived, although she ended up arriving before me. And we ended up going out to meet Ivana and Camilla for drinks that night. And if you have watched Camilla's vlog from there, as well as Ivana, so Camilla from Cami Jo Knits and Ivana from the Republic of Me, they both have great footage of the people, because I was really doing the videography myself, whereas Camilla and Ivana both had their husbands there, so they got footage of us, whereas I was getting footage of places. So we just had a lovely time together in Sitges, and I have to say that I left Spain feeling like I need to go back, and feeling like I'd like to spend time in a place like Sitges and just get a little apartment for a month with my family, or if they can't come, they can maybe come for a short while, or so that might be something that will happen in my future. I hope it does, because I just have been filled with a desire to go and spend more time again in Spain. I realized being there how much I love Spain, and how much it's become kind of a part of me in my life. So I think that could end up being part of a future trip at some point, especially when I would be able to take a little bit more time off and go. So we'll see. More family noises. So that brings me to the end. I am going to leave you with footage of those 3 places at the end. And if you're still around, thank you for sticking around, and I hope you'll enjoy the footage if you stick around. It's a nice memory for me as well. And I hope if you celebrate Christmas that you're enjoying the season, that you have a lovely Christmas in whatever way you choose to celebrate. And I usually come in between Christmas and New Year's, which is a great time for me to podcast because I'm usually off. I can take the time. So I may come in and say a little hello, and perhaps we'll do a retrospective of the year or something like that. And until then, I hope you'll enjoy this season in whatever way strikes your fancy, and find joy in your making, and we'll see you next time. Take care.